Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. I'm the GM Philosopher, and today I want to talk about why D&D is actually important. Not just D&D, but tabletop roleplay games in general. Why they are actually important for humans and life, and why you as a GM are very important. Now, before I jump into this, I'd like you to tell me in the comments, do you think TTRPGs are important to humans in life? And do you think GMs are important to life? And if so, why or why not? I'd love to hear your take on this. Also, I'm not going to give my usual long spiel, but you can download my Ultimate Plot Randomizer and join my email list where I share more ideas and resources that I create for my D&D games with you. So thank you very much. With that being said, I want to get right into the topic. And here are my thoughts about this. And this is kind of why I wanted to share this. Not too long ago, about 2 years ago, I wrapped up a really long 3-campaign arc that had been going on with the same group, give or take a few, for about 10 years. Very, very long. But toward the end of the third installment of this, I started to get this notion in my mind. I started to have a difficulty wrapping my mind around why I was playing D&D and why I was playing TTRPGs in general, why I was spending a great deal of every Saturday. I mean, for 10 years straight, I gamed for almost every single Saturday, and sometimes even on other days too, for, 4, 5, 6 hours, sometimes every single Saturday. At the same time, I was trying to grow my own business. I'm a writer and I'm in marketing and digital marketing, and I do some other things like freelance type things. So I was also trying to build a business during this time. During this time, I went through a lot of things, personal things in my life. I have children, I'm a father, I have pets, I have a lot of responsibilities. And I started to wrestle with the stress of, is it worth it to do this? Am I being irresponsible by spending my Saturdays doing this instead of, mowing the lawn or working on my business? Not that I wasn't mowing the lawn and not that I wasn't working on my business, but I meant those literal 6-ish hours every Saturday. And that's like an investment of 6 hours a week into something, which made up almost the time of an entire workday. And while I did enjoy it and it was fun, and it did give me a great reason to spend time with my friends and even with my kids, because at this point, my oldest kid was playing D&D with me. And at this point in my life, two of my younger kids are also playing in my campaigns. And so I've got 3 of my kids playing D&D with me, which is amazing and a great way to spend time with them. But I was still caught up in this question of, is it worth it? Should I do it? Is it a waste of time? Should I be more responsible than this? And so I quit playing D&D for about 6 months around this time, once we wrapped up that big campaign. And it was hard and I didn't really like it. And it was kind of sad. Long story short, I ended up taking a break and I did a lot of thinking with myself about why I played D&D to begin with. And there's kind of a long story about that. And to be honest, one of the primary reasons that I chose to get into D&D or tabletop role-playing in general, because I started out playing classic Marvel, and then actually I played like Pathfinder, and I played a whole lot of like homebrew Star Wars before I ever got into D&D. However, I originally chose to try to get into TTRPGs in general because I was a young father. I had my first child when I was 20 years old, and I was at home a lot because we had a brand new baby. And so going out and doing kind of the typical things that a 20-year-old might do for fun weren't really on the table, because my wife and I, we kind of worked off shifts, and it was very inconvenient. We couldn't really go anywhere together on like Saturday nights, Friday nights, because we had this brand new little baby. And so the idea was maybe we could play role-playing here, and we could start a friend group here. And so we could do fun things on Friday and Saturday nights at home around the kitchen table and invite people here. And then we could put our child to bed and we could game, and it would be awesome. And we'd still be there, right? We could kind of like still have fun while also being parents. And that was the motivation behind choosing that particular activity. But what it ended up becoming was much more, even better than that. We made friends, we built community. it became a very big part of our lives, to where every single week it was like looking forward to Saturday. And it was like every Saturday we seeing all our friends, and we played for years and years with these friends. And it became a very incredibly significant fixture in our lives that resulted in a lot of happiness. And so the reason that I'm making this is because I have come to believe, and I took a 6-month break from D&D, within the last 2 years, and I went back into it because I reached this conclusion. And this is the conclusion I want to share with you today. And this is my answer to the question, is D&D important? And are GMs important? Are TTRPGs important? The answer to the question is yes. And here's why. TTRPGs are not just games in the typical sense. Yes, you can play Monopoly with your friends. Yes, you can play card games with your friends. Yes, you can play video games with your friends. All of these things have merit and value, right? Board games, card games, video games. They are all ways to have fun, to maybe compete a little bit, to build community, to also just enjoy the mechanics of the game, the graphics of the game, the artwork of the game, whatever. However, TTRPGs include another element on top of all of that I don't see as being present in those other games, at least not to nearly as significant a degree. And here it is. It is community building. It is a fun game. It can be a little bit competitive. It can be very intense, and you roll the dice, you have your stats and all these things. But there's also the shared storytelling, which is awesome. And you're creating your own story, all of you as a group, which is amazing. The next best thing to that would be writing a book together or something. But D&D makes it a game. But then even beyond that, there's this element of creating intellectual art together and the shared experience of that. I one time had a friend say, this is almost a religious type experience. We're getting together for this ritual where we get out our character sheets and we engage in this game. But to call it a game is so minimizing. It's not just a game. It's a communal act of artwork creation and storytelling where you truly weave this narrative that supersedes just the game rules. And it becomes almost real in the sense that you do experience it. And unlike a video game, which closes you into some very kind of concrete parameters, the only limits to TTRPG intellectual art creation and storyline creation and universe creation, the only limits are those of the human mind. And this is so much more expansive than the framework offered by any other type of game. And I believe that humans grow and learn about themselves, about community, about others, and even about life in the universe when they play D&D. I've had friends who have worked through trauma playing a traumatized D&D character. I myself have worked through things like anger in my life. If there were periods of my life where I was angry about something, I played a very angry villain, and I put those feelings into that villain, and I used them as fuel to role play that villain. That helped me work through some of those things. And then I've had multiple occasions where when the players defeated the villain that I was working those feelings with, it brought me to a sort of a sense of conclusion and completion, a place of healing, right? And that's real. That's very real. And I've talked to more than one very seasoned D&D player who has shared similar experiences. Now, I'm not sure if everyone has these types of experiences, but I'm just saying that at my table and in my circles, this is not an uncommon thing. It's not super common. Not every single player has this depth of experience, but the types of players that I've tended to, I guess, play with long term are the types of players who do tend to have these kinds of experiences. And when we share them together, it creates this bond. We could not see each other for years, and then we could get together over a drink and dinner, and we would just talk about D&D and laugh, and it would be such a fun conversation to relive those memories. They may as well have been so real that we were actually there. They may as well have been that real for the value they brought in just sharing them afterward. And that is such a powerful, amazing thing that I have never ever seen happen in any other games. I have had, there have been times in my life when I've had great times playing, for example, back when Halo 3 was the multiplayer game online. I have some great memories of playing that game. I have some great memories of playing Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2, Like those games were really fun, and I have some great memories of being in clans and doing all that and kind of stuff. And I have some great memories of playing board games with people. Like I was in an Axis and Allies board game group for a while that was super fun. But while those things can be super fun to talk about and reminisce on, none of them reach the level of depth of value in terms of just sheer happiness and enjoyment and nostalgia that comes from talking about past D&D games, which makes me believe that D&D games and TTRPG can't, like, it doesn't have to be D&D. It could be any tabletop RPG. But they reach a special place within our human consciousness where they just occupy a different level. They occupy a different level of the human experience. And I truly believe that they're not just fun and not just good, but they are helpful and they're useful and they make us better people and they make the world a better place because they make people better. That's my experience, and that's what I believe. And that's why I think that playing D&D is not a waste of time. We don't want to be irresponsible, game our lives away, but to set aside time every week or every other week to play D&D is certainly not a waste of time, and it is a worthwhile activity. And as a GM, being the one facilitating this, you should take great pride in this, and you should be proud of yourself, and you should be proud of the work you put into it, and you should forgive yourself for mistakes, and you should realize that you are doing something that I believe is very important. You might even be helping your players to work through things in their lives that they might not otherwise have the chance to work through in the same manner. And when we let players have player agency, we do it all the more. Let them have that adventure and work with it and make the story awesome, and crazy, amazing things will happen. So there you go. There's my 2 cents on the matter. Leave a comment and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for continuing to watch my content, and give me a thumbs up and a subscribe if you like this video. And hey, keep playing your TTRPGs. Keep doing it. If you're too busy, that's totally fine. But if you're wondering if it's worth it, I have a feeling it is worth it. That would be my answer. And that's why I believe in it so much. Thank you all very much. I'll see you on the next one.